And we begin tonight with a car chase that ended with a suspect shot, injured, and arrested. Portland police say it started when officers tried to stop that suspect in a stolen truck. Tim Gordon talked to neighbors who heard the officers' gunshots from their window.
This neighborhood off of Miller Road in northwest Portland is trying to get back to normal. Some bricks knocked out at one home's front steps is the worst damage to be seen. But we also found a car damaged by a bullet. Several hours later, neighbors took pictures after waking to gunfire. This is where two officers shot and injured the man in a stolen AAA roadside assistance truck. He got trapped on a dead-end street at about 2:38 a.m.
At some point, shots were fired. Officers came on the radio and announced that shots had been fired.
Lieutenant Greg Pashley says this started just after 1:30 a.m. with the report of a stolen truck from Southwest 3rd and Ash in downtown Portland. Officers on the ground responded and had help tracking the truck from a police airplane overhead.
The air unit spotted the truck and was able to follow it as it drove through southeast Portland, sometimes at very high speeds, into oncoming traffic.
For a full hour, the truck sped to southeast Portland, then north up Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, with police dispatch sharing the details.
The AAA tow truck coming up on southbound Grand, approaching Hawthorne right now. Speed's approaching 100 miles an hour. In the wrong lane.
The suspect then got on the interstate, driving north on I-5 into Washington. 10 minutes later, he was heading south back into Oregon, eventually across the Fremont Bridge, and finally ending up in this neighborhood in the West Hills.
We just woke up to 3, boom, boom, boom.
Jenna Sells says she and her family heard the gunfire, then watched from the window as officers took the man into custody and gave him medical aid until paramedics arrived.
It just makes us really grateful. The police did a great job last night. I think we're really taking for granted the stretch to the police force right now. If that man had been allowed to get back on the freeway and gone to other more populated places, it could have been a lot worse.
The shooting is under investigation with more details to come. Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Now, police later charged 27-year-old Andreas Boignier with recklessly endangering another person, recklessly driving, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and attempt to elude in a vehicle. New COVID restrictions kick in tomorrow for people who live in Washington. Starting Monday, you'll need to mask up outdoors at events with more than 500 people. Two counties, Pierce and King, where Seattle is located, already made mandates. Now, the new rules put in place by Governor Jay Inslee will affect every corner of Washington. Face coverings are required regardless of your vaccine status, and the governor says enforcement will be left up to the individual venues.
Governor, can you talk a bit about how the mask mandate will be enforced?
Well, this is a requirement on entities that have these organizational pursuits. It can be enforced through the labor and industries as we have in all of our other systems.
Health officials and Governor Inslee believe that there are more people who comply with mask requirements than those who don't. And speaking of mandates, new federal vaccine requirements for some employers has labor unions split. Last week, President Joe Biden announced all U.S. employers with more than 100 employees will need to require vaccines for workers. Anyone who refuses will need to submit to weekly testing. The new ordinance also applies to all federal workers and contractors doing business with the U.S. The National Nurses Union is applauding the president's decision, while police and fire unions here in Oregon are suing Governor Kate Brown over a statewide directive. The National Teachers Union, which once said mandates are not necessary, now embraces them. The divide is complicating things for the president. On one hand, unions and workers' rights are a key part of the Democratic Party platform. On the other, unions still want workers to have an individual choice in the matter. Well, from car parts to chicken wings, the pandemic has had a wide impact on supply chains. Now, with the new school year underway, it's causing concern in the cafeteria. Catherine Cook explains.
Breakfast at Powell Valley Elementary in Gresham. For many, it's their first week back in a school cafeteria in a year and a half.
We have faced many challenges getting school opened.
Ben Guyton is Director of Nutrition Services for Gresham Barlow School District. He says one of the biggest challenges they're still facing is a national supply chain issue. It's affecting the food and even the paper products used for the kids' meals. Pre-pandemic, that's 5,000 meals a day in this district alone. There are a lot of kinks in this supply chain. A shortage in truck drivers means deliveries are often late or incomplete. Food processing plants are also short on workers. And since schools were closed last year, many food suppliers have yet to ramp up production to pre-pandemic levels.
We're continually scrambling to say, okay, so what is next? What do we have? Do we have enough of it? Does it count the right way for USD meal pattern?
Despite those challenges, nutrition workers are doing everything they can to make sure kids get healthy meals. That may mean fewer choices and some improvisation.
Adjust from our planned soft taco to doing a burrito or an enchilada instead, or something completely different like a chicken burger. That's what we do.
To help out, the Oregon Department of Education is giving districts temporary waivers on certain nutritional requirements, like the vegetable subgroup requirement. Believe it or not, schools are required to give students a certain amount of a certain color of veggies every week. But right now, that's just not possible.
So we're taking advantage of that waiver.
Guyton says even with all of these unexpected challenges, come mealtime, every one of them is worth it.
They're big smiles behind masks and getting their thumbs up when I walk around the lunchroom.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Fire crews continue to work near Scappoose to put out the flames of the Alder Creek Road fire. The wildfire there broke out yesterday just before 3 in the afternoon, and by nightfall, it grew to about 30 acres. Fire crews worked throughout the night, but the fire grew to about 50 acres. Right now, it's about 70% contained, and officials believe it will have minimal growth over the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the Vancouver Fire Marshal is investigating the cause of a 2-alarm fire that could be seen from I-205. Firefighters were called to a structure near 14th Street and 112th Avenue. It was so hot it burned through plastic vents in the foundation and made its way into a crawl space. The fire was contained by 9:15 with the help of 20 firefighters. Well, does this look a little familiar to you? Well, if you were around downtown Portland today, maybe you saw one flying pretty low in the skies. It had a lot of people calling in concerned around lunchtime today, wondering just what was going on. Well, we do have an answer for you. The Grand Prix actually had their event today, and they had some F-15 flyovers that were happening. So the plane was performing some circles overhead before heading over to Portland International Raceway. That was off I-5 near the Washington border. Okay, a big highway expansion is one more step forward, but it will take years and more than $1 billion to get it done. Some groups are fighting the move because of environmental and cultural impacts. Our Galen Etlin has the update.
The I-5 Rose Quarter expansion project is inching forward with a clearer vision.
Really critical point in the project, this peak of the highway cover milestone.
After years of debate and discussion, Governor Kate Brown greenlit the project this summer, now projected to cost more than $1 billion. The extra cost goes into covering part of the interstate, allowing neighborhood businesses to expand on top of it.
A reimagined Albina.
The Historic Albina Advisory Board supports the idea in a neighborhood hit hard by redlining, policies and development that drove out and financially hurt many people of color.
This is an opportunity to restore some of the harms that have been perpetrated against the Black community here in Portland.
The plan for under those highway covers is to build an extra lane in each direction to improve access ramps between I-84 and 405. ODOT says extra lanes will improve traffic and reduce accidents. Not everyone buys that.
That are going to significantly contribute air pollution and carbon pollution to the local neighborhood and to the planet.
Aaron Brown represents No More Freeways PDX, which supports the highway caps to benefit Black businesses and neighborhood access. But he says more lanes just means more traffic and more environmental impact to those communities.
Portland has grown a lot in the last few years, and a lot of our highways were not necessarily built for the traffic we're receiving What would you say is the alternative to expanding those highways?
I agree. Traffic sucks. We could be robustly investing in transit, bus lanes, more max lines, sidewalks to fix up the dangerous streets that ODOT owns. 40% of Oregon's carbon emissions come from transportation, and it was 116 degrees this year. We need to be investing in a Green New Deal, not a gray old deal.
As groups debate the expansion, money is the clincher. With increasing costs, the project will need extra help beyond state funding. Portlanders could get some of the bill for that highway people use from all over. Project leaders hope to get a big chunk of money from the federal government, too. But that remains to be seen. Galen Etlin, KGW News.